there's some interesting uh updated information to connect the dots on as far as my experiences go and uh, business and um color code and how and where it connects to me and how another way I see I'm being used and don't want to be. When I worked at US Bank, like close to the first, there was the guy who came to my window out of the blue, and because I asked for his identification, was an African American man, and he didn't have an accent or anything, so I think assume that he was African American. Um and he wasn't a regular customer at the location where I worked because I had been working there for 2 years and I knew my customers. And so when I asked for, and I've talked about this before, when I asked about or for his identification, he started getting irate. And I said, "Sir, that's standard procedure for, well, you didn't ask him or her for her. They're regular customers, sir, and I recognize them from coming in regularly every week, and you I don't." Um and he went on and on and on and on. And then he removed himself from my teller window, and I went and got Lucinda, who was the branch manager at the time, and to explain to her, to try to get her to intervene. And he had already, though, decided to go to the next teller, Holly. And that was like to um 1998, 97, 98. And US Bank, if you're not familiar with the logo, it's red, white, and blue. And actually, at that time, it might have still been Colorado National because it only turned to US Bank like maybe 2 months before I put in my resignation, to because and it literally was because I felt like I deserved to get a a promotion as a bank, um oh, now I can't even think of what the word is. Anyway, as like a loan officer. I can't remember what the name of the um thing was. But anyway, um I wasn't like hugely angry about it, but I was like, you know what? I wanna I wanna move forward in banking. I ended up not moving forward in banking. I ended up, my personal life kind of gotten in the way of things and stuff like that. Um and then I ended up getting a job at RES Builders. However, the point of the story is that I'm now seeing that incident, and now I'm kind of almost certain that it was still Colorado National because I literally I think I was only at Colorado, but these events all happened within like 2 months of the merger, and I put I stayed through the merger and I made it through all the stuff. Um, and I didn't Part of my reason for leaving also was because I didn't like the new location that we moved into. I didn't like being at in a location at a grocery store. It felt less professional. And so that was another reason that I was like, US Bank isn't going in a direction that I think that I want to. Um, and this wasn't a conscious thinking, but anyway, I want to stop getting. It's not a sort of laissez-faire dot to dot connection and realization that I'm sitting here making because there's some things that are happening whereby that incident of that man coming to my window and making that big stink at my window and then literally saying, I think you're just prejudiced. I think you're just prejudiced. And it's like, it took about a year. It took a few years, but now it's like all I hear. And I'm like, don't want to hear it. Um, so I'm connecting some things, and it seems to be Ace Hardware, US Bank involved. Um, McGuckins. Um, it's really, really, it's not ironic. Um, so it's Ace Hardware, US Bank, and McGuckins Hardware, and thought there was a fourth. I thought there was a fourth. Um, so right around that same time, I'm going to say in like a 3-month period, that guy came to my window, and then not long after, uh, the bank started going. I can't say that that man had anything to do with as being part of a movement, as in part of a political knowing aware thing that he came in and targeted me for for it's just it's almost like, then like maybe 2 or 3 weeks later there was a flim flam artist who came to my window, and he was like a Jamaican man who I had never seen in there before, and he was acting really, really irate, and like he had a really angry look on his face, and he was doing the whole I need um 520s and da, 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 and back and forth, and then he would say, "No, I need that back," and then and what a flim flam artist is, if you're familiar with what a flim flam artist is, and they try to get you confused at the bank teller's window. And I'm thinking about it because when I was at the bank the other day, after I left, and frequently after not frequently, but after I left the bank, the other day, I thought to myself, "Gosh, I feel like I came across as a flim flam artist or something because I had made some adjustments to my account online, or at least I thought I had. But anyway, so I was like, okay, I'm trying to keep my thoughts straight. And I'm saying this to the bank teller out loud. And this, um, I need this amount withdrawn. And I wrote the withdrawal. But anyway, I don't want to go into my personal uh, banking experience. Um, but I was being solicited at the time via email by US Bank, my former employer from 20 some years ago, to open an account online. And at this was like maybe 3 or 4, it was around Christmas time. And I was experiencing really good experience with the bank I'm at. And but then suddenly um my account was being zapped with like hidden fees and um some strange things were going on. So I'm like, okay, I'm getting nervous that my bank is like losing the battle to the corruption and stuff. So, and a big um I had a money market that I was trying to switch it. I don't want to go into my personal banking. But anyway, so I was being solicited by US Bank online. So I went on and I was like, okay, let's see. And they were offering um like $200 cash. And I thought to myself, well, if I get a US Bank account again, maybe I could establish a relationship and maybe possibly somewhere down the line get a bank teller job again at US Bank since I had already had experience there. And um, then it started to be really aggressive. Like US Bank was starting to be like I was getting emails. All we need is your deposit. All we need is your deposit because it was like an initial $25 or something like that. But I had opened it online or tried to open it online, and then there was an issue with my bank. There was just like really strange stuff going on. And and I wasn't able to like follow what was going on my account. And then another thing, and I was trying to explain to the bank, to my present bank, that that I was finding these hidden fees and stuff. And the other thing was that every time I signed on to uh the site, the my bank site, and do online banking, all these advertisements would come up, which didn't happen before. Like before Christmas, I didn't have middleman advertisements coming up within my banking session. Um, so I was getting nervous, and um, again, my mental and intellectual uh, issues. I have really good days, and then other days I'm like, I can't follow like that in particular. I couldn't, and I was getting frustrated, and I was losing confidence in the good experience that I was having at my bank. And there's something going on because even as I'm speaking, there's a competitive thing going on right now. And it's very frustrating to know that, and to know and see how they're working things. But anyway, US Bank started getting really aggressive. It was a $25 deposit. And I had already gone up there at the location here in Boulder to make that 25 deposit, because it said online that I had 3 days to make a $25 deposit to keep the account open. Like, you go through the steps in the application online, and then you have 3 days to make the $25 deposit. And so I went up to the physical location, and um and in that location they were acting really strange. And I was trying to explain to the guy, I I explained that I put through or made the application, and it said that it would cancel it in 3 days if I didn't get the $25 deposit in. And he seemed really laissez-faire, and the whole atmosphere in the bank, it just felt like, gosh, US Bank isn't what it used to be. And I thought to myself after I went in there, I think I'm not even going to go. I think I'll just I'll just, I'm not going to make the $25 deposit. And since then, and that's been uh like, this is February, that was probably since like December, right before Christmas or right after Christmas. Seems like it was between New Year's and Christmas. Um, they're sending me emails, like really aggressive emails. And then I went to um what is that? Ace. auto rental. Yeah, then I went to like in this process, I was going to rent a car, and I went and I was making and I made the reservation online, and but I made it at the airport, and it says online, the standard, you have to have a credit card for deposit, blah blah blah, and it says the amount online for that, and it's like $250, the standard amount. And then when I got there to the airport to pick up the car, I got to the counter and they said, lady behind the counter said, "Oh, well, we're gonna have to put a hold of $750 because you don't have because you reside in Colorado and people in Colorado aren't returning our cars," or something like that. And I thought, how absurd. That just doesn't sound right to me. So that was like, and then she said, um, what about your insurance? And she was talking really fast. It felt like a corrupt used auto salesman. And um and the guy before me was having to go through a negotiation with the same lady at the counter. So I don't know how they're, and I asked how long they had been open, and I can't remember how long she said. But I just was really uneasy about making the rental after that, because then she said, "Well, then we need to put two this amount on hold because, or we need to charge you this amount every day for auto insurance because blah blah blah." I said, "No, my credit card company covers um auto insurance." And she says, "Well, that's just this." And I don't know if it's that's just this. So she was already like, I felt like I was already being like the wheels run over. Um and what was the other thing? Oh, when she said about the insurance, I said, I just saw a story online, like, I don't know, like a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, that Coloradans, Colorado doesn't even require insurance anymore. If she just said ACE requires you to have insurance, but that's not what she said. She said it's Colorado state law, you gotta have this insurance. And it just didn't feel right. Everything that she was trying to say about. And then she said, "Let me hold your credit card." And my credit card didn't go through. And I was like, gosh, what is that all about? Luckily, I had not taken the hold off my credit card. I had forgotten to take the hold off before I went up there. Um, and after I left, I was like relieved because I almost went through with the transaction. Um, somebody was looking out for me. Um, and now I'm seeing all these sort of dot to dot connections that are like leading all the way back to my experience at Colorado National just before it went to US Bank. Now, when Colorado National was when I stayed for the entire merger after and stayed through the chaos of the merger, and there was a lot of it. there was managers coming in from, which I can explain a lot more now, not explain as in explain away, but at the time I was like, "Gosh, why are they okay, so it's a merger, but they're going through the same merger down at their branch. Why are they coming up here suddenly? Why are the branch managers all of a sudden, like, switching locations and showing up and now our branch manager's going down here for the day and this branch manager's coming up here for the day and they're all like interchanging. Then when the whole merger was complete, everything settled down and we had our regular staff back. But during it, and then there was money missing from the the safe. And so there was a lot, very much going on. And I know no one in this area likes me telling this story because they know by now I was scapegoated for a lot of things. And the 200 or $500, whatever it was that was missing from the um from the safe at the time, uh, during the merger, during the time when all these different branch managers were switching around and they were sending tellers into our branch from other branches and just like really a lot going on. And I just didn't know, okay, so there's a merger and we're becoming US Bank, blah, blah, blah. So what does, why does there need to be such chaos? There's already chaos within the constraints of knowing the differences between the two banks because there's some policy changes that can't change because of federal guidelines. Um, and there might be state guidelines too. I can't remember, but I know that there's certain federal guidelines that can't be changed within the banking industry. Um, and so I couldn't I couldn't now I can. Again, the dots are connecting. Um, and it even involves again the whole a different political situation. It's really scary. It's scary how people don't let things they refuse to let things go, and they get different people get on different ally and back then I didn't have I didn't realize about political alliances and how they play a role in excuse me, and how they play a role in such big corporate affairs. Um, but I can clearly see the path that leads right to that guy initially, and then s- started the merger, and then came the flim flam guy, and then came the and oh, and that night my drawer came up like I can't remember if it was 1,500. I can't remember what it was, but I had called my manager over because I thought that I had gotten it all straightened out. Um, I called him over because I was getting nervous. I was getting confused, and I don't usually get confused. And they don't like when I bring up this story because then it dredges up Colorado national history and the business dealings of US Bank and the employees at several different locations evidently. But I can't help it. When the story comes up, I gotta tell I gotta tell my what I was going through at the time and what my experience was. Um so when mergers like this happen and I almost feel like I'm being targeted as a scapegoat again because this story is coming up and the connections are so very obvious. Um, but the aggressive emails that I've been getting from US Bank, I've decided not to, and I think I just got one just the other day. I've decided, well, you know what? They said they were going to close it out after 3 days if I hadn't deposited the $25. And it's not my problem. Um, but what is my concern is my civic responsibility to recognize, excuse me, um other businesses that seem connected within political movements that touch back to such a personal life experience whereby as I said, I feel like I'm being targeted as a scapegoat for something right now within whatever's going on with US Bank. Now I remember hearing um because I had been bragging about my bank and I'm not going to mention what my bank is. Um but US Bank had a location. I think this was before I opened an account. No, this was within the same time span. Um, but it was strange because I had been in the bank one day and a guy came through when I was in line and he looked like my former teller supervisor. And I said hi to him and he pretended not to know me. He was like, hi. Like, and and we were pretty good friends. But anyway, back then, um, there's my fingerprints. I am so fed up with the corrupt and how they continue to use me as and I'm not giving permission in the way I'm verbalizing this right now. It um And then I noticed that one of the tellers at my bank more recently, who wasn't there when I first got my bank account open, has a resemblance to one of the branch managers that was showing up during the merger at our location. So it's just really strange to me. And I don't feel like being a convenient scapegoat any longer. Um the and I'm not gonna say any more. There was I think I mentioned all four: US Bank, Ace Hardware, and McGuckins, and Ace Auto Rental. Strange. It's just all really strange. Um, so I think that there's some kind of unadvertised, non-obvious, um, unless unless you're analytical and have had to constantly, because my resume is extensive, I've had to constantly rehash, because in every large corporation that I've worked at, I've been scapegoated. Every one, everyone. So the larger corporations, there's like four or five. And at the time, I didn't realize scapegoating was a real thing. Even when I heard that terminology, I didn't know what it was. Um, However, now I completely realize what it is. Um, but then to further realize that each and every time one of these companies goes through yet another merger, and it's like I'm not around to it's like the same thing my family did, carry the bag for us. You moved 1,600 miles away. You were supposed to stay here and carry the bag of our family crap. But I wasn't up for that plan. I didn't sign on for it. I wasn't aware of it until again you start looking back on how things have gone on in your life, and how you're being treated like public enemy number one, and you're literally an innocent person, and you start to look back and start adding things up, and things are said around me, like even as I'm standing at the bank, I have to constantly make the tellers aware of what I've been going through, identity theft, and it's somebody has used the cool thing again. Um it's very, very, very irritating to have ever been scapegoated. But then the number of times that I've been scapegoated is oh, it I can't even say anymore because I'm getting irritated, and I wanna go on and on and on and on, about all kinds of, uh, what I see again, and the same people from my past are forming the same, but they all have aliases and new names, and, anyway, I'm not gonna say anymore because I don't wanna get myself emotionally out of sorts.